You may recognize Téa Leoni from her work as an actress, most recently on the hit series Madam Secretary, but she's also a passionate activist and a board member of UNICEF, so thank you so much for joining us. You would not believe how many different pronunciations of your name I've had today.
I would believe it. I've heard a lot.
Obviously, we know you as a successful TV and film actor, but I learned something interesting. So you're an advocate. Actually, your advocacy runs in your family. Your grandmother was one of the co-founders of UNICEF, and you sort of followed that role as an ambassador and a board member. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about why, activism is important to you and just stepping up and doing something for society.
Well, I was very lucky to be sort of handed this legacy. And I am as responsible for it as I ever can be. And it's an honor. And it has impacted my life. I hope others, but it's, at the end of the day, I'd say this is one of my strongest attachments of my life and achievements in my life.
Yeah, and I think it's important because a lot of, what I do in activism came from my parents as well, growing up on a ranch, caring for the environment. And it's funny because you play a role on the CBS series Madam Secretary, which involves a lot of very hot topic issues, one of which I'm sure you've had situations where the climate's involved. Does it ever make it real, or do you ever actually find yourself like pouring into a conversation because it's something that you're experiencing and working towards in a personal life too?
Well, certainly. We have our team of writers. I've been extremely impressed, especially this year. The atmosphere has been so ripe with topics and things that we could go on about, and that we have taken the time about climate change. We've addressed very specifically talking about saving the permafrost and about some of our military bases that we have lost and the threat to the national security. And these have been, I'm really impressed with the research that goes into it, and sometimes I want to just curse.
Yeah.
I just want to go further with it, and then I'm told not to do that.
Well, and that's the challenge. Sometimes I feel like I can get too heated and too passionate, and you're not, necessarily accomplishing anything. It's a dialogue, and it's about education.
Yes.
Even on set, you work with one of my good friends, Eric Bergen, and he was giving me a little insight as to you were this passionate person on set who actually implemented all of these green policies, helped implement these green policies. So tell me about what you've done on your set and how it's affected the people that you work with.
Well, when we came to New York, there was not a green seal from anyone, and we were the first set to get the green seal from the mayor's office. And we print not very often our scripts. Most are digital. We have every different kind of waste trash, but mostly it's the enthusiasm that we're getting going. It's 110, 25 people on the set every day. I mean, I catch crew members dumpster diving going, "This is compost," and throwing it somewhere else. And it's fun. I mean, I think showing people that there is no harm. That food fights are fun, but there's no harm to this effort.
No,
and I think that's a really important message.
Well, I think it's important too that people feel like they can get involved. If it's something that just comes down from the top and it says you have to do this, it doesn't work. But if it comes from everybody saying, "Hey, let's get involved," it really does make a difference. You actually quoted, and I'm going to quote you saying here, but you said you want to become warriors to fight the climate crisis because an issue like this, they're their issues, but you want it to be our issue. What did you mean by that?
Well, I think, first of all, around this issue, I sort of came into it as a worrier. When I first heard about, and it was global warming back then, I was on the board at UNICEF at the U.S. Fund, and we were discussing floating schools in Bangladesh. And just that concept that we might need barges that would float for children to be educated in that area of the world was something I couldn't really wrap my head around it. And I think I spent a lot of years just worrying. And I think at this point it's time for, well, myself and plenty others to become warriors about it. We are fighting. I can't think of anything more important than our planet.
Yeah.
So
I will join you as a warrior. We will be co-warriors.
Okay,
good. It's wild because you have to keep fighting for it. Otherwise, sometimes, like Mayor Cruz said earlier, that sometimes you forget about the story that's in the news today and you move on, but you can't move on. The planet's not. We only have one planet.
Well, and I also think initially when I came into this conversation. There are the naysayers, or people who would sort of talk about the tree huggers, or what I've just heard is rock licking. That is new to me. And those that were thinking about climate change, talking about, our spectacular planet. For me, I was really introduced to this through UNICEF. And the issue is child welfare and child survival. And I think that's something a lot of people don't necessarily think about when they think about the adverse effects of climate change. Yeah. And for me, that is my #1 focus.
What is it when you have the naysayers? Because I'm sure if you post something online, you'll have naysayers that come out of the weeds. What is it that bugs you with them? Or what's something that you want to say to them?
Well, I think I think about this cartoon that I love, and there's a guy giving a speech about all the benefits for taking action to adjust climate change. And as he's giving his speech, somebody in the audience stands up and says, "But what if you're wrong and we make a beautiful planet for nothing?" And I think that's an important idea, which is that if we're wrong, we have cleaner air, cleaner water, better child mortality, better health, better education. If you're wrong, it's catastrophic. I sometimes wonder why we have to talk more than that.
And that's the struggle that I always have. I said, think of the two things. What's the worst case scenario what's the best case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? Right. And really, I think that we are warriors in the right fight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Each hour, 24 hours of reality brings the world together in one full day to talk about the reality of the climate crisis and how we can solve it. Today, you can become a citizen producer of this live broadcast and have your name appear in the closing credits with a gift of just $50. Don't miss your chance to support this world-changing event. Visit 24hoursofreality.org/donate and donate $50 by noon Eastern Time tomorrow, and you will see your name in the closing credits of the end of the show.